Oh, hey. Time to talk about another Mets loss. Hey, what's up, everybody? The New York sports fan here, Josh Byrne. And the Mets have now lost 18 of their past 24 games. They have failed to win a single series in the month of June and are now a season worst 9 games below 500. And if it wasn't clear before, well, I hope it's clear now. This team is done. They are absolutely screwed. They are effed to the high heavens. And frankly, the only word that's appropriate to describe this team this season is depressing. It's depressing to watch, and honestly, every night when I sit down to watch this freaking dumpster fire of a roster, I feel like I'm putting on a clown mask, because if you're watching this team on a nightly basis like I am, and I know that many people out there still are, because Mets fans are a very passionate, loyal fan base, we all feel like clowns. We all feel like we're playing ourselves, because it's the same thing night in, night out. Sometimes they get demolished. Sometimes it's clearly not their night. But one thing remains true the entire way. The New York Metropolitans of 2023, without fail, find a way to lose every single night. And tonight was significant. More significant than many other losses they've had, and they've had plenty. But tonight was significant because it was the 81st game of the season, marking the halfway point, the exact halfway point of this season, and with a record of 36 wins and 45 losses, the Mets are officially on pace to follow up a season last year in which they went 101-61 with a 72-90 campaign. I don't think even the most negative Mets fan or Mets hater out there could have foreseen this coming. This is truly unprecedented in pretty much every single level, and when you're looking at why this has transpired, it's really not a clear answer to that question. You have players up and down the lineup, and they showed this on SNY tonight. 1 through 9, pretty much everybody, 1 through 9 in that lineup, is performing under their career averages. And the number one guy that stands out to me is Starling Marte. Starling Marte is a guy who last year was amazing. He was one of my, if not my favorite player on that team. He had a above 800 OPS, he was an all-star, and he truly brought an electricity to this offense that the Mets sorely needed, and was a big reason why they won 101 games last year. It's been a completely different story for the 34-year-old veteran, who is starting to really show his age. And if you told me that he'd regress this season, I wouldn't find it that surprising, because he is getting older. But to see his OPS drop 200 points, to see him batting 250 with literally no power, and grounding into double plays in critical situation after critical situation, is truly mind-boggling. And that at bat, in the 9th inning, when the Mets get second and third and 2 outs, that was as bad, that was as pathetic, that was as demoralizing of an at-bat as you will ever see. He swings at the first 2 pitches, he misses on one of them, fouls the other one off, and then he completely misses the 3rd pitch, resulting in yet another loss. The Mets drop another series, and at this point, there's really no realistic way of looking at this season and seeing it finishing on a positive note. Okay, the Mets are done, and at this point, it's time to turn our attention to what are they going to do over the next month to prepare for the trade deadline, because the conversation needs to shift from, oh, how can they turn this around, to how can they retool and replenish the farm system and be in a better position going forward, because the sad reality is this Mets season is amongst the most disappointing and disastrous that I've ever seen. And as a fan who's been covering and watching them and following them since 2008, I've seen my fair share of really demoralizing Mets seasons, but I've got to say, folks, this one takes the cake. This one is the worst. They have the largest payroll in Major League history and are probably going to fail to even make the playoffs. In fact, they're probably going to fail to even be a 500 team. So this is a failure on so many levels. And as Mets fans, It's just pushing us to absolute paranoia, to absolute craziness. But what else is there to do right now but just look at this season and laugh? Because that's really all we can do. It's depressing, it's sad, but we got to be real with ourselves. It is what it is. And I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about in the comments section. The disastrous nightmare of a Mets season continues to roll on. So let me hear what you think. Do you think they somehow have a great second half run in them? Because they'd essentially need to play .650 winning percentage baseball to even have a shot at the playoffs, and I don't believe that's going to happen. But anyways, thanks for watching, and as always, all the love.